Let's talk about the newest palette from Simply Posh Cosmetics. It is the Coastal Palette. Now this palette technically launched on a pre-order a couple of months ago. They had some delays receiving the shipment, but it is finally in my hands. And I actually talked about this palette in a previous video. I would say a couple of weeks ago at this point. I will link it down in the description box where I talked about my favorite color stories so far in 2024. And this one was in there. Definitely think this color story is so beautiful. So let's finally take a look at the palette. Here's the outside. They always do a nice simple outside that just matches the theme. And then the inside color story. I love it so much. I think it's so well done, and I really like the way Simply Posh lays out their palette. If I just saw this palette with zero context, I would know it is a Simply Posh palette. You can use this by rows, you can dip in between, and I did receive this palette in PR, so thank you so much to Simply Posh for sending it over to me. And I'm going to be showing you detailed swatches of each of the shimmer shades, as well as some swatch comparisons, and then I'm going to be creating two looks. And right now I'm actually just wearing Serene all over the lid. It's kind of like a one and done eyeshadow, and this shade gives the Moon Dust shadows from Urban Decay a run for their money because it is just so sparkly. So let's get into the video and I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end. Sunbathe is a peachy orange. Really can see the peach straight on with a orangey base, and this one can definitely be sheared out, and it is very sparkly and very smooth. Tropical is a pale yellow flash straight on with a purple base, and it's kind of like a almost grayish purple leaning into plum, and this one is pretty opaque, but I think if you really blended this one out and just went in with a dry brush, you could get it to be a bit sheared out if you wanted to. And this one is also very sparkly and very smooth. Saltwater has a green flash straight on with a magenta base shifting into pinky purple, and I do definitely see a little bit of blue in there as well, depending on the lighting and the angle. And this one seems the hardest pressed out of all of these shades, and pretty much immediately hard pan on me from swatching it, but it does pick up fine on a brush, and it is a very smooth and very shiny. And this one you could definitely build up or shear out. Paradise flashes pale yellow gold straight on with an aqua base, especially on an angle. Serene is a peachy orangey, like a pomegranate shade on an angle, especially with the base, and the sparkles are just so beautiful. I would say that they're a bit more on the silvery side, so it's kind of like silvery on top of orange peach. Really beautiful shade, very smooth, very sparkly. Sunset has a yellowy orange base, especially on an angle you can really see it. It flashes aqua with a little bit of green, and it shifts to violet purple. First look, I primed with the Natasha Denona eyeshadow primer, and I'm going to be taking Coral, and I'm just going to put that all the way in the crease. I'm starting from the outer corner and going inwards, and just really blending that, and then blending it out here. But I go in with just a little bit more, again starting with the outer corner and blending inwards into my inner crease. Look at that blend though. Oh my goodness. Next I'm taking Coastal and putting it on the outer corner. And only on the outer corner. And I'm going to bring it down underneath my lower lash line. And just really blend it all out. These are blending so fast and so easy. Moving on to the shimmer, I'm going to put down a little bit of Fair & Pixie Epoxy, and I'm just going to spread it with my finger. Those are some early birds you're hearing right now. Very loud. And I'm going to pick up Sunset. I actually wore the shade yesterday to work. It is such a stunner. I'm going to cover a majority of my lid with that, and I'm going to leave the inner lid and inner corner without it. The shade is one of those kinds of shades that really just shifts and looks almost like, especially now it's shifting into the actual shades, so it kind of looks like almost like there is no shimmer. And then I'm taking Serene, and that's going in my inner lid here. It's so sparkly. These are so wet looking. This one I would say is a little bit more sparkly than the other shade, but they're still both really, really wet looking. Here's the first finished look. Onto the second look, again primed with the Natasha Denona eyeshadow base. So I'm going to take Wave, and I'm just going to blend that into the crease first. I'm going to take it all the way, and I really want to get this super feathered out here because I'm going to be blending palms into it. So just laying this down first and then picking up palms. I do think that most of these shades don't really go that deep, which I think works for this color story, but I do wish there was just a little bit more depth in this palette, and I wish there was a little bit more difference between the shades that are at the top and the shades that are at the bottom. But this is definitely gonna deepen it up a little bit, and I just wiped off this brush, and now I'm just blending what I put down on my lid. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more, just put it underneath my little lash line. And then I'm gonna go back in with this brush. This was the 14, and the other was the 13 mini. And I'm just gonna go further over the edges of this. And then I think I'm gonna just go back in with a little bit more palms, like right out here. And then just start blending. And then go in with fluffy brush. I mean, look at that. Blend super quick, super easy. I think I'm gonna go in with a little bit of palms up into here. Just a tad. And then again, going back in with a larger brush and just blending it out. Look how different these looks are. Picked up Tropical, and I misted my brush with just some water. And I want to see how this applies. Oh yeah, this applies so beautifully. Look at that shade. Oh, that shade is so stunning. I kind of want to put, I think I want to put another one. I want to put Paradise on the inner corner. I'm going to need a smaller brush though. Picked up Seaside on a smaller domed brush. I'm going to put that right on this inner portion. And just blend it up into my crease a little bit. Here's a second finished look. The mattes are spectacular. I have been using this palette off camera as well, and these just blend themselves. They're so easy to use. They layer on each other, and I just had absolutely zero issues with these mattes. Just such a pleasure to use, and especially with these kinds of tones, I think heading into fall, I really see myself wanting to reach for this palette a lot. I still think that I wish there was just maybe a little bit more depth between especially these two shades, but that is very much based on my personal preference. I do like to deepen out the outer corners. Now let's talk about the shimmer shades. These are so beautiful. Best Simply Posh shimmers I have ever seen. They are so sparkly, but they're still really smooth. However, there are a couple of shades that are a little bit starting to hard pan, especially Saltwater. I think this one I could feel hard panning from the moment I went to swatch it with just a finger. So I would say if you don't have to swatch the shimmers, don't, because these pick up so great on a brush, and they put down really great with a brush, especially if you missed it, especially if you use a tacky primer. None of these shades shades are emollient or wet feeling or oily or anything like that, but they are a little bit harder pressed. But like I said, if you don't like using your fingers, these work just so great with a brush, so I don't mind that at all. I just know not to go in with my fingers in here. The other shades that are kind of starting to hard pan is a little bit Tropical and Serene as well for me. I did apply this one with my fingers, so it's totally my fault for dipping into it some more. And I was also doing swatch comparisons, so I did have to finger swatch them just a little bit extra, but it really doesn't bother me because they apply so easily with a brush that I feel like, I know majority people do prefer to apply shimmer shadows with a brush, so I really feel like that's kind of a non-issue. They're all still perfectly usable and I just love all of them. I love the assortment of them. I think the shade Sunbathe is a little bit similar to some of the shades from the previous palette, as you could see in the swatch comparisons. Sunset I think is my favorite shade in this palette. It is such a standout shade, and then right after that would be Serene and Tropical. Love these three shades. Those are the standouts in the palette for me, so very much enjoying this palette, and I'm always very excited to see what they come out with. I think they've really nailed down their themes and their color stories as well, so let me know in the comments below if you picked this palette up and what you think of it. I would love to hear your thoughts, and that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.